Schorn, Bucks County District Attorney. To my left is Detective Tim Furman of the Bucks County District Attorney's Office. To his right is Ed Luca, First Assistant District Attorney in my office. To his right is Detective Jason Callahan of the District Attorney's Office. And to his right is Sergeant Mike Callahan of the Falls Township Police Department. I'm happy to answer any questions, but essentially, as you know, Andre Gordon Jr. was just sentenced for the murder of Karen Gordon, her daughter, 13-year-old child, who won't name publicly, and 25-year-old Taylor Daniel. He was also sentenced for other crimes involving this murder spree. As it relates to those crimes, the carjacking of an individual so that he could successfully escape from Bucks County back to Trenton, where he was later apprehended, and charges related to the burglary, robberies, and every other crime that ensued during this murderous carnage. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Jen, we've all been doing this a long time, you've been doing this longer than us. That, the videos, the audio, if you could sum up your argument, I believe you said he was hunting.
Yeah, I mean, the evidence showed he was hunting in that home, and I don't think that there's, I mean, every case obviously is so impactful, but to know that a mom and her 13-year-old daughter were tucked behind the mom's first floor office door, that locked door, hoping and praying, on the phone with 911, just praying for help. And you hear, I hate to not mention her by name, but just for the sake of the family, I'm not going to publicly, you heard her name mentioned in the courtroom, but you hear that little voice saying, please, 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 help, please. I don't think there's anything worse that, we hear in this job, but then we hear Karen's wails, quite frankly. There's no other way to describe it, when her daughter was murdered right before her, in her arms, no doubt. And then shortly thereafter, Karen. It's heartbreaking. And then, as if that's something it was a struggle for everyone, I think, watching that to get through, and then what is going to happen in the next home, and then you hear Taylor's 911 call, and have the wherewithal for her to yell to her mom and her brother, get in your bedrooms, lock the door, and she scoops up her girls in their little princess nightgowns and makes sure to get them safely in the bedroom. And as you heard her 5-year-old child describe, they were hiding under her little sister's Spidey covers. And she put her hand over her little sister's mouth because she was afraid Daddy would cue them to with the gun gesture. I don't think it gets worse than that.
The 911 call when you hear your little girl.
Yeah, you hear mommy. You hear after you hear what is Nancy Daniels' heroic actions with an axe handle to literally attack the gunman who has just fatally shot her daughter to save the rest of her family with an axe handle, no head to the axe, just a wooden handle, and successfully get him to flee then. And then you hear once, obviously, 5-year-old, who I won't mention by name, is able to peek out from the covers and she says, Mommy. Those 2 911 calls, it doesn't get worse than that. And again, I just have to, at sentencing I touched on it, but I have to praise the investigation that was done by 3 detectives here with Falls Township Police Department and the Bucks County District Attorney's Office, but the collaboration, the law enforcement agencies that responded, I think it became apparent in that all of Falls Township is going to a double homicide in their jurisdiction to only learn that another homicide is likely unfolding in another house in their jurisdiction. So Bristol Township, Tullytown, Morrisville, Middletown, everybody, Lower Makefield, the officers on scene, the Lower Makefield officers as well, responding to assist. And then while they're there, you see in Lower Makefield officers' faces when the when the alerts go out about an armed robbery at the Dollar General. I mean, it was quite frankly a scary time in Bucks County. And I just cannot emphasize the amazing work done by all people I mentioned here, but all of the other agencies. The State Police assisted, New Jersey State Police obviously were extraordinary, Mercer County, Trenton, everyone. And that's why this case was successfully prosecuted the way it was.
Could you just speak to why the life sentence is a parole rather than going to capital life?
We respected the family's wishes, and each family member, for different reasons, none for mitigation, but for different reasons, knew in their hearts this is what they wanted. So we respected their wishes. I mean, obviously, though, I have to state, this kind of result doesn't happen on its own. It happens because the amazing work that the men and women in the investigation did, that allows us, my colleague at Luca and I, to be able to prosecute the case in the manner we did, to be able to negotiate 3 consecutive life sentences plus a 4th, essentially exceeding, like essentially 2 additional life sentences, and knowing now we can make this about the victims. That's what today was, at least, some closure in that it was all about the victims, and that's how it should be. That's what I'm saying.
Not to make light of the victims and the ending here, but there was reference during the hearing about his time in treatment in Norristown State Hospital, and Judge McHugh even said he needs treatment, that's part of why he, was there a mental health component to this?
There was, but when we're looking at mental health from a criminal prosecution, you look at somebody's capacity to make the decisions they made. He had clear ability to make those decisions. He had cool reflection. He had moments to abandon his criminal spree. He had the ability to assert certain rights throughout the process, which takes a level of capacity to understand and to invoke. So yes, although that is a component, I think in most homicides, that's a component, but that doesn't explain. It doesn't explain it, certainly, and I know you were not at all suggesting justification, but yes.
Has he ever said why he did it?
No. We know, though, that, his family was very good to him. They were very good to him, and he was loved. So we know that, I think, I won't mention her name, but the surviving victim who prepared a victim impact statement may have touched on some of the pressures that caused him to resent the mother of his children. We're just so thankful his children were spared and others were spared.
Speaking of that impact statement, she had written him coming to the United States. What background can you provide on that?
He was of Jamaican descent. His father describes that his father was living the American dream. His wife Karen served our country, met Andre back in Jamaica. They came back to the U.S. together to start their family. Andre was working in the trades and Karen worked in 2 jobs, and they bought their home and lived in the American dream. So they brought his son over in the hopes of bettering his education when he was a junior in high school. And the facts in this case do indicate that he was associating with some pretty dangerous people in the city of Trenton, and but beyond that, and hence the access to the ghost gun, the personally manufactured gun that he acquired to carry out his crimes. But I need to say that the family members were supportive and remarkable in both households.
So he was given a lot of opportunity.
Yes.
In court, she was referred to as his wife. What was their actual relationship? Was it an ex-girlfriend?
Meaning as it relates to Taylor, Daniel, the
Yeah.
defendant? Yes, not legally married, but at one point they were raising their 2 children together until he stopped providing for them and she had to move home.
Okay, so it wasn't an ex-girlfriend?
No. Not legally married, but I believe that the family views her as they lost a daughter-in-law, and now obviously both families are going to be raising these grandchildren.
Has there been any charges or further investigation into the ghost gun?
I can't speak specifically to that, but I can tell you that very much, New Jersey authorities are very much aggressively handling that aspect of the investigation.
Well, on the topic of family, just to clarify, the youngest victim in this was his stepsister or half-sister?
Half-sister.
Half-sister.
Yes, and I believe was there another question that you had earlier?
She asked him.
Oh, yeah, there you go. If there's no other questions.